Even if she's not showing that, I want to make them know that because she's just as important as I am in their lives.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, once again, we're extremely excited about you guys being here, dealing with this whole issue around changing the images of black fathers. For those of you who are involved in social media, please support President Barack Obama's Responsible Fatherhood initiative. You can go to fatherhood.gov. Fatherhood.gov is the website. You can also go to Facebook at fatherhood.gov, and our Twitter handle is at fatherhood.gov. And so those of you who are heavily involved in social media, please support President Barack Obama's Responsible Fatherhood. Those who are just joining us, all of the authors' books are on sale. Howard University is right behind you. Please buy, initially I said buy 2 books, buy 10 books, give 10 books to brothers that you know in the community, because we can change our current condition, but we really got to make sure we get this information in the hands of fathers.
I think that one of the imagery changes that we have to make about child support, particularly in the psyche of men, right? Because whenever we start talking about child support, we automatically go to the pocket. We believe that that's what child support is about. And in our trainings and things that we teach and talk to our men, we try to expand their thought and say to them, why should child support just be about money? Isn't doing homework with your child supporting your child? Isn't picking your child up on time supporting your child? Isn't taking your child to the movies or talking and sharing wisdom child support for your child? And once you begin to start talking to them about that, they begin to open up a little bit about what child support means. Now, oftentimes that doesn't do anything for what the system is doing to them, and we try to strip that apart. What the system is doing to you is very different from how you should be viewing and thinking about what child support is. And there's still a lot of work for us to do, ladies and gentlemen, within the child support system, because the child support system is not friendly to a lot of men, whether or not they are doing the right thing or the wrong thing, and particularly if they are low income. The second thing I want to say about child support is for the ladies, and that is, and I'm going to try to say this real quickly. When I was coming over here today, I was dragging my books. I had 50 books in my bag. And when I got halfway over here, I realized that I was like pulling the bag harder than I had to pull it. And so I just kept dragging it. And when I got out in front of the building, I sat down and realized that the wheel had broken. And so I looked at the wheel and I said, man, I got to buy a new bag. You know, I'm sweating out my clothes. I turned the bag over and realized that the wheel wasn't broken. It had just fallen off track. And so the moral of that is, some of you got men in your lives that look broken to you. Sometimes you just have to take some time to look at them, and what they really are is just off track, right? So we're not talking about men who don't desire. We're talking about men who do desire, but don't have the resources, the support, and the encouragement to get back on track. And when you get them back on track, they begin to understand the broader sense of what child support is really about.
So, Brother Russ Parr, radio.
But you'd be surprised how $1.25 can make a dude quit job so he don't have to pay anything. It's amazing, and it's about choices. You know, a lot of times it amazes me, because I get phone calls on the radio all the time where the lady said, well, my baby daddies, and when they go plural with that, I'm like, well, this one has 5 kids. Well, why was he going to be different with this one? You know, and it's a major turnoff when first thing you start bringing up is money. It's like, I just need him to support. I need to get that check. Well, if he's got 5 other children, you're not going to get that much. So look for something else, like time. I mean, I'm tired of putting dollar signs on our kids. I mean, and the kids don't know any better. All they know is that my father is not around and he's not accountable. But you know what, ladies, you have to be accountable too. You know, you're making choices, and you think you're going to be different. Women have a lot of power, and y'all know where that power is. And the bottom line is if we've got young ladies out there that are really excited about that young man that carries books to school, young men that carry books to school are going to get all the women. as opposed to all the young ladies are really love that dope dealer driving that real expensive car, and next time I'm in, I may take a bullet that wasn't meant for me. The bottom line is that we cannot put a price tag on our children, and we cannot skirt our responsibility. And I totally agree with you. It's not about the money. It's about the time. And you know, hugging a kid at Christmas time and telling you love them means a whole lot more than $1.25.
So, Brother Rucker, in your chapter in Eton's book, you deal with this whole issue of anger. How do we help men move beyond that anger, particularly those men who've grown up without having a good relationship with their father?
Well, in my experience as an educator, as a counselor, mentor, and the couple handfuls now godchildren that I have now, I'm probably to some degree the least credible here as far as fatherhood goes, because I don't have any biological children yet, you know. But at the same time, I've had the privilege and the responsibility of having to raise a couple of them. They've had to live with me. I done changed plenty of diapers. I take my Uncle Lamont badge very seriously, and I've been very, very active. Even in my brother and sister both have children, and unfortunately, my brother's now deceased, and my sister's, the father of her oldest two has never really been present. So what I made a point to do was to do the best I could to supplement that, that need and that void in their lives. Thusly, it helped fill my, my fatherly, needs and instincts, right? So I didn't have to have any of my own because I'm raising everybody else's babies, right? But then on top of that, it actually gave me the opportunity to learn, to practice, to put all these skills and all these concepts. Some I learned from my father, some I didn't. Some I learned from the textbooks and from the master's degree I have, some I didn't. But really the hands-on experience of dealing with the day-to-day issues that we all have had to go through. But in particular, when you really got to deal with that with a young child, you're dealing with all these emotional issues, all the stimuli from outside. No matter what you do in your home, you've got to teach that child what the coping mechanisms are to deal with the world around them as well. So what I've learned is one of the major things is teaching our kids, giving them the tools that they need to adapt, to adjust, to mentally cope with what's going on around them. So that for me has probably been one of the more significant contributions I guess that I've been able to see is really give them. Again, we've got to teach, just like a lot of this baby mama and baby daddy drama is really about relationship skills, not even so much often parenting, then the parenting is dysfunctional because the relationship skills were dysfunctional to begin with. But a lot of that comes with the teaching, the skills that parents bestow unto children on how to cope emotionally with what's going to happen to them, the things that they're going to deal with, and how they respond. And I think that's the other thing. You can't always control what's going to happen to you, but you have a variety of different choices on how you choose to respond to what happens to you. And that has everything to do with what kind of life, with what kind of shape your life is going to take, regardless of what your circumstances.
Okay. All right. Brother Russell, this is going to be our final question. We're going to open it up to the audience for questions. And let me just give you guys some ground rules, okay? So we're going to have somebody who's going to bring the mic around. We need you to ask a question. I will cut you off if you don't ask a question. And I think we all know how to phrase or form a question, okay? And so, Brother Russ, how would you describe, if you could just share with the audience one word that would describe your parenting style, just one word that would describe your parenting style?
Omnipresent.
Omnipresent. And what does that mean to you?
I'm available to my kids at all times, as long as they're caller number 19 at 202-432-WTO. Actually, no, I'm available. I have two boys in college, and I have a 15-year-old that doesn't like me anymore, but it's a girl, of course. No, she loves me. But just being present, you don't necessarily have to. I have one boy at University of Richmond. He doesn't see me every day, but present can mean picking up the phone and say, I love you. I love what Lamont says. I kiss my daddy. I kiss my kids. you know, and they're grown adults, and you know, like they kind of like, hey, not now, man,
Give it to 'em.
not now. I'm like, hey, now, you know, and I think that's important. You know, there's nothing more than going to your child's school, and because I remember when I was like in the 3rd grade, I watched my mom walk down the hallway, and I'm like, that's my mom. I've never forgotten about that. So I make it a point. My daughter cheerleads. I go to every game, whether it's cold or not. I'm out there watching them cheer and stand and do nothing. You know, so it's just being present.
Guys, get quiet.
I would say inspiring. I inspire. You know, I would say the reason is because, you know, obviously I'm the kind of person who lead by example. So I inspire every morning that I get up out the bed and I go to work every day. I inspire, you know, in the sense of our relationship, how we communicate. You know, I inspire having a good relationship with them. For them guys to understand how important they are to me, how important they are to the world. So that the work that I do, the things that I do every day, I make sure my kids see it. If I do a foundation event, I make sure that if my kids can be there, that they can be there and they can give back. I inspire them to be better people at a young age so they can understand how, you know, how to be a working man. You know, I inspire to try to be a good person. I'm not perfect, but I inspire that to them because I know I'm leading by example. You have to be a role model in your house first before you can be a role model outside your house. So I inspire.
Brother Eton, one word that describes your parenting strategy.
I would say a blessing, because it's a blessing to have children. You know, everything that I'm about, everything that I am, I always realize that I am blessed. I had a lot of anger when I was younger growing up because I didn't get the chance to have the relationship with my father that I would have wanted to have. And but then I had to look at it and say, well, it's a blessing that it wasn't worse, because there was a lot of people that had a lot worse situations than I had. So I'm worried about only seeing my father once or twice a month. And we just did a panel with Laurent Prophet, and he talked about how he didn't see his father, meet his father until he was like 32. So I don't have that. So now it's a blessing for me to be able to give my kids what I didn't have. You know, my kids are all here, around here somewhere, Malcolm, Imani, and Sierra. And it's a blessing for me to be able to discipline Malcolm. It's a blessing. He might not think it's a blessing, but it is a blessing. You know, it's a blessing for me to instill that sense of security to my little girls. You know, that they are beautiful, that they are intelligent. You know, to be able to shape their minds and tell them that no matter what the society tells you that you are supposed to be, no matter what you see on 106 and Park about how they're dressed, you're not supposed to dress like that. Now I'm shaping their format of how they look at themselves, so when they're at that stage where they choose a man, they have a certain standard that they will not go below, because I have set the bar of where they should be. So everything is a blessing.
Brother Rucker, we know you've been a surrogate dad to a lot of children. What's your parenting style? What's your parenting
You know, but see, I like this challenge, and this is exactly what we're talking about, high standard. Right. And we had some weak brothers up here. I'd have been able to come up with something real easy. But we got high standards and intelligent conversation. I gotta, you know, but again, really to come from a very sincere place. You know, as far as parenting style, I believe my asset has always been patience. And it's something that I realized that I had, not really knowing that I had it. But again, once you start comparing it to other people in other situations, you look at them like, wow, she wasn't even listening to the kid. Like, you know, or you know, yeah, the child made a mistake, but how the hell else are they supposed to learn? You know, so it's that. It's having some balance. I mean, I'm very, very firm, very stern. I don't allow excuses. I hate whining. You know, I'm one of them dudes, I ain't trying to hear about it. Figure it out. Fall on your face, pick yourself back up. But I'm gonna be right here, because if you can't pick yourself back up, I'll be here to lift you up. But you're gonna learn how to do it on your own. So is that? But I've learned you really, really got to have patience, because there are things that are gonna hit the fan you'll never see coming. And you know, you'll hit the roof and lose control and sometimes lose perspective if you don't have, you know, if you don't keep that balanced perspective and make sure that you maintain some patience in how you respond. Children have been my salvation. I mean, they really have. You know, being involved with children has saved my life. It saved my life. It really has. And damn. Excuse me. And I mean that in a number of different ways. I'm gonna try not to I'm gonna try not to go off on a tangent here, but it took a while for me to recognize that this patience that we're talking about was again modeled by my parents. I was blessed enough to have them be patient with me. Blessed enough to fall on my face, quite a few times, and be knocked upside the head on occasion, but more importantly, loved, nurtured, and then taught how to do it right and do it on my own to not repeat that mistake. So when I really realized that my life wasn't really taking the shape that I really wanted it to, when I've gone through moments of challenge, I'll even say at times what I thought might border even depression, at a certain point, or feeling like, oh man, things are just really down. All I needed to do was surround myself with children, recommit myself to children that I didn't know, or the children that already exist in my life. And it always put me back on track. It always gave me the direction that I needed. It gave me the inspiration that I needed, and also the accountability. I can't be out here acting a damn fool because I got not only adults and elders to answer to, but I got children to answer to. You're setting an example for them. So for you to come back after you've acted a fool and have to look at them and have let them down, disappointed them, and after they've looked up to you and again aspired to be you, and if we've done our job, which is to lift them up higher than us and make them better than us, then where are they going to go if we're continuing to fall off the horse when we know better? Not that we aren't, allowed to make mistakes, but children have absolutely saved my life because they've allowed me to keep my act together because I know I've got to be accountable to them. And they've helped me shape the decisions that I've made. Even going back to school to get my master's really came as a result of recognizing, what? I love children. I've got a God-given gift of patience and love and all these things to impart. This is where my focus needs to be. Everything that I do, every business that I have, every role that I've ever portrayed is always from the perspective of how is this going to affect the children in my life and everybody else.